Macky Sall, welcome to all the candidates.
Sall, Senegal.
Thank you very much. What I wish to offer is added value based on experience. First, I bring national experience as a former head of state, built over nearly 40 years of public service. I have learned to listen, dialogue, and take difficult decisions. Second, I bring regional experience, including as chairperson of ECOWAS. This taught me how to manage crises in complex and political situations. Third, I bring continental experience through my chairmanship of the African Union and NEPAD. These responsibilities allowed me to address Africa's major challenges, including peace and security, human rights, and development. I also led the successful campaign for the AU to become a permanent member of the G20. Together, these experiences taught me to work with leaders from all regions, listen to every perspective, and build practical solutions. If elected, I will use this experience at the service of member states. I will be a facilitator of dialogue and a Secretary General committed to implementation, reform, and restoring trust. Trust in the organization, trust among member states, and trust for the people we serve. I thank you.
Thank you, President Sall.
As you reminded us, there are many different crises, and the UN is not at the heart of negotiations on them. Sometimes the organization is on the sidelines. On the Strait of Hormuz and on many great crises, we need more than ever a Security Council that functions in line with the provisions of the UN Charter. Because in reality, global security, peace and stability is something that is incumbent on the Security Council, and the lack of trust between the members today, particularly between the permanent members, is that means that crises go on without solutions being found. As Secretary General, the added value I could bring is to speak to everyone, even at times of difficult tension, and create the necessary corridors of dialogue so that our goal to keep the world safe be one that is carried by this organization. So to be in dialogue with everyone, speak to everyone, build bridges of communication. Thank you.
Rebecca Greenspan.
Thank you. The blockade of the Security Council is when the job of the Secretary General starts, because precisely is to open the possibilities for agreement, the job of the Secretary General. I was in a very similar situation when we brokered the agreement in the Black Sea initiative, precisely for the grain and the cereals be able to be traded, and for prices in the world markets to drop, and for people around the world not to suffer the consequences of the regional conflict. And we can do the same in the Strait of Hormuz. We should have engaged very early on with all the actors to try to open up, at least for the benefit of the people that are suffering far away from the situation in the Strait of Hormuz that is affecting everybody.
Michelle Bachelet.
Well, I think that, first of all, the Secretary General should try to prevent and anticipate these things from happening. but where they cannot be prevented, of course it has to use all the tools that the UN Charter gives them. Good officers, has to maintain bridges with parties in dispute, insist on the peaceful settlement of disputes. It can mediate, send special envoys, etc., etc. Sit together with member states, with the regional grouping, and see what else can we all together produce a positive effect. It's not easy, but I think the most important thing is that the Secretary General cannot give up. He has to insist and try and see different strategies and help member states to identify different strategies so peace can be brought to the people. At the same time, he has to ensure that the organization provides humanitarian assistance and support victims of those conflicts so we have no lives lost.
Rafael Mariano Grossi.
The metric of the success of the Security Council in a world like the one we are having is certainly not the amount of resolutions that can be adopted. We all assume that there is fragmentation, so the absence of an agreed resolution, one could say, is the most predictable outcome of these situations. Today, by coincidence, today, in this House, the Security Council was meeting, and they were discussing preventive diplomacy, conflict resolution, and of course, the issue of Chapter 6, Article 33, the Charter, all these things that are being mentioned. The issue, then, is not that we do not agree that the Secretary General has a role to play in those circumstances. The issue is to have the Secretary
requise parler aux principaux belligérants, surtout lorsqu'il s'agit des membres permanents du Conseil de sécurité. Et c'est là où le travail est le plus difficile. Mais je crois que l'impartialité du secrétaire général, sa responsabilité de conduire l'organisation avec la confiance des États membres, doit l'amener à être ce bâtisseur constant de ponts entre les pays et de création de la confiance qui nous permet d'assumer notre rôle historique. Parce que les leaders de nos pays ne doivent pas détruire l'organisation. Au contraire, ils ont chacun une ambition que l'ONU doit continuer à jouer le rôle qu'il a toujours joué, et ça a été un rôle très important depuis la fin de la Seconde Guerre mondiale. Cette génération actuelle de dirigeants doit travailler la main dans la main et dans la confiance pour que le monde soit meilleur et que la paix soit la plus partagée possible.
Let me just follow up. Mr. Sall, you talk about building trust. You have 30 seconds to answer the question. How do you do that exactly?
J'ai été président du Sénégal pendant 12 ans. J'ai dirigé l'Union africaine. Je me rappelle, après le déclenchement de la guerre en Ukraine, j'ai été amené à devoir aller rencontrer le président Poutine. Tout le monde n'était pas d'accord, puisque c'était un moment où il y avait énormément de tensions. Mais justement, puisque j'ai représenté un continent d'1,5 milliard d'habitants qui vivait des conséquences sur le blocage du port d'Odessa, sur l'absence de facilité de commerce sur les engrais pour les pays africains, il fallait donc, malgré cette tension, aller à Sochi, mais aussi aller à Kiev. Donc il faut que le contact soit en permanence établi, quelles que soient les tensions, et c'est ça le rôle impartial que le secrétaire général doit jouer pour rétablir la confiance entre les membres.
Thank you, Mr. Sall. Caroline Rodriguez.